Thing too.
Oh, I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it. I'm about to lose control, and I think I like it. All right, welcome to Cursed Nun Karaoke. I hope y'all brought a little something to drink. Nom nom. I'm here to suck up all the souls. Oh, look how pretty my lips are today. We're here for Bible Slutty. Bible Slutty. It's going to be a good time. We're going to be doing some Bible reading. I got my Bible right over here. The Bible for teenage girls. That's me.
Did you share the post?
Let me go ahead and do that. Let's see. I'm going to refresh over here on Jessica's page. Make sure that it's the most recent post. Here we go. Found out. Share now. Oh my goodness. Which one of us is possessed?
The demon is coming out of me.
That's just how we like you.
Well, I know. I felt like if you're going to have a grungy voice, I should have one too.
Oh, nice. Nice. I
Not
love
like
it.
currently when you're in nun mode.
Yeah. Yes, I'm here to be exercised. I actually was exercised by the church. That can lead into our little introduction thing.
I think that's great. We can give a new fact about our religious background.
Yeah. So I am Tiffany Vogue. And
wait, hold on. Let's get some more people up on here.
Well, fine.
I'm interrupting you. We got
my drag.
We got about 8 so far on the.
All right, people, share this. Everybody share this so that we can get started as soon as possible. Share this with your friends so we can dive into the scripture, the Holy Scripture, and just share the love of Christ with as many
we got
people.
E on here. We've got a bunch of people on the TikToks.
We're just here to spread the good news. And also trick or treat a little bit. Give me candy.
You look scary as hell.
Oh.
Okay, we've got about 40 people watching.
Work. Alrighty.
All right. What up, everybody?
Hey, welcome to Bible Slutty.
Ooh, Bible Slutty number 3.
Yeah.
For those of you that are returning, for those of you that are just joining us, we are doing Bible study every single Tuesday, and you look scary as hell.
Me?
Yeah, I'm so into it, but I can't look away.
Thank you. I have that effect on people. I'm disgusting to look at, but they can't look away.
You look beautifully disgusting at the same time.
Thank you. So my name is Tiffany Vogue. We're going to do a quick little introduction. My name is Tiffany Vogue, and I was a pastor's kid, so got a lot of religious trauma, and I'm here to talk about it. And we're going to be going over the Bible. We're going to be discussing some of the problematic things inside this holy book. And I also happen to be the lowest paid Illuminati princess. It's your turn, Jessica.
Currently?
I hold that. I don't hold a lot of titles, but I get that one.
And friends, my name is Jessica Whor. I have a Catholic upbringing, nice, strict Catholic upbringing, where if you miss Sunday dinner, they broke your thumbs. That's how it worked. So
That's hot.
It's hot, right? We are reading from the Bible each week. We have our own Bibles that we've been kind of going for. Mine is the Precious Moments Bible, which I found out is just a regular Bible, but for small hands. Small hand Bible.
Mine's for those big hands. I don't want to brag about anything to anybody, but I do want to say that mine is so much girthier than yours, Jessica.
You have a girthy Bible.
I do.
You need nice. 2 hands for that Bible.
What's that?
You need 2 hands for that Bible.
You sure do. You need 2 hands. Now, what do you look for? Do you prefer girth or length?
I
in your
prefer bigger font. Like, I don't enjoy reading this. Like, who? Like, can you imagine? This book is big enough with this tiny ass font. Why can't it be just a little bit bigger for the small hand people with bad vision?
Oh my God. We're going to have to get some of those opera spectacles for you for the next video so you can read the tiny font in your little book.
Christmas is coming. um, Folks, we last left off. We're still in the book of Genesis from the last 2 weeks. We're going story by story, and I believe we left off with number 5, correct?
I think, yes, we are on chapter 5 of Genesis, which is, in my book, is titled From Adam to Noah.
Oh, see, I don't even get Noah. Mine is the family of Adam, which I guess might include Noah.
Oh dear. The family of Adam sounds like we're just going to get a bunch of really complicated, hard to say names again.
Yeah, probably a lot of very complicated names. So we go story by story. We read a couple of stories each, Bible Sludy, and we just kind of see what it's going to tell us that day and have a good old chat about it. So do you want to kick us off, Tiff?
Sure. Yeah. Again, we're just going to sort of go over these scriptures and we're going to approach them skeptically and humorously. And I think that a lot of people, when reading through this book, they have their Jesus glasses on and they try to read between the lines and go all about it in a very biased way. And we're just going to do a very no bullshit approach to exactly what it says here in this book. So here we go. We're going to dive right in, Shirins. Open up your books.
Amen.
Genesis 5. This is the written account of Adam's family line. When God created mankind, he made them in the likeness of God. So here's something that I'm already questioning. So if God made man in his own likeness, again, we're getting right back into God looked just like this. He had nipples. He had genitals. Very suspicious to me. What does he need those for? Did God have a belly button? We can't be made exactly in the image of God.
And he's been clothed the whole time. Nobody has seen him naked, but everybody else seems to be naked.
Yeah, God seems to have a real wishy-washy view on whether or not nudity is a good thing or a bad thing, because he made everybody naked. He's probably naked.
As long as they're not drag queens, they can be naked.
The worst kind of clothed. All right, here we go. Back into it. Do you remember that it was the 11th commandment, I believe, that thou shalt not be a drag queen?
Yes.
He created them male and female. Oh, that's a verse that gets thrown around a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, that part.
And blessed them. He created the male and female and blessed the thems.
That's true. He was
See,
using non-binary pronouns before anybody was using non-binary pronouns. It's weird.
It all depends on your warped interpretation. However you want to read this, you get to read it that way and create a little new shard of a denomination for yourself. And he named them mankind, not womankind, but mankind.
God is very misogynistic, and we're only on page 4. Okay.
Well, he really created woman as an afterthought. He actually didn't even consider making her until Adam was like, hey, none of these animals look sexually appealing to me. Can you?
I'm not really into horns and tails anymore.
Good thing he didn't try out the horse, or there wouldn't be much of a lineage.
Oh my gosh, he'd be having to wear diapers for a different reason.
Oh God.
No nut tree leaf could fix that.
The first shish kebab. When Adam had lived 130 years, he had a son in his own likeness, in his own image, and he named him Seth. Yeah, I knew a Seth.
That's correct. Like, why are all these names 18 syllables and then you get Seth and Adam?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the names in the last lineage we read through were really long, very complicated names. And now we get like Bob and John.
Yeah.
After Seth was born, Adam lived 800 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Adam lived a total of 930 years, and then he died.
I,
It's giving elf vibes.
it's giving what I don't know what kind of medicine worked for Adam at the time, but 937 years, but nobody breaks 100 like ever.
I know, it's so complicated, and
And
I
in
feel like
earlier times, people died at like under 30.
these are the excuse. Well, they didn't technically die at 30. They averaged a lifespan of 30 in the olden days because there were so many infant deaths. So many. It was just like a casual thing. With disease and just so many other things that would complicate the lifespan. But the excuses that we get for the long ages is it was a mistake. It's a calculating error in the conversion of numbers because technically, like the number 0 hadn't been invented yet, or some crazy shit.
There's just a technicality. I'm sorry. What equation and technicality gets you to 930 years?
They have to like divide it by 6 or 12 or some crazy. It's like, well, but if there's already mistakes in your book, then it can't be that infallible.
Yes,
And
just this, like, how can you give a pass to this one but nothing else?
And we're so early on in the book and we've already got problems we're running into. Why are you going to dedicate your entire existence in your life and make everybody else live their lives according to a book that's already got problems on page 2, 1, and 3?
930 years. Wow. Okay. Maybe they cryogenically froze Adam.
Yeah. He pulled a Walt Disney.
Yeah.
All right. When Seth had lived 105 years, he became the father of Enosh. He waited 105 years to have kids, and I think I'm going to do the same. I'm spending my money on me. I'm spending my money on avocado toast and brunch.
If this little YouTube segment doesn't prove we're not fit to have children, I don't know what else is. Look at this girl. Do you think we should procreate or try to influence other children? I don't think that's appropriate right now.
I feel like most people shouldn't procreate, but the problem is it's not stopping them.
No,
in fact, the ones that are wise enough to understand that they're not wise enough to procreate are actually doing a disservice because it's the ones that shouldn't be procreating that are doing the most.
When you go to procreate, I want you to look at this face, okay?
I can't wait till these
demon.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll explain. It was Halloween. It was a different time.
Okay.
All right. After he became the father of Enosh, Seth lived 807 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Seth lived a total of 912 years, and then he died.
They never talk about the mothers of any of these people. They say, oh, Seth waited to have kids, and then these are their kids. Adam waited to have kids, but this is his son. There's no daughters being born right now. There's no mention of wives or who they're having sex with. Nobody cares, apparently.
We never even got the name of Cain's wife, I don't think.
No.
They
just say
don't
Cain's wife.
Yeah. I think that there are like 4 speaking roles in all of this Bible that have a woman's name. There's like Esther, there's Eve, and Eve just sort of gets mentioned because they need to poetic. And Mary, yeah. So let's see. We got when Enosh had lived 90 years, he became the father of Canaan. After he became the father of Canaan, Enosh lived 815 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Enosh lived a total of 905 years, and then he died. Oh my God, I feel like this is going to be the whole chapter. I'm sort of browsing through this, and it just tells you how long everybody lived in this whole chapter.
Well,
we're just getting a whole lineage of different names living into their almost thousands, and then having kids and dying.
It's another one of those things. At this point, we're under the impression that 1,700 years have passed, 1,700 years have passed, and we have no other context other than that. Hey, this person lived and he made a lot of kids, and this person lived and he made a lot of kids.
Yeah.
That's all we know.
Making babies.
Well, these are all just.
This is a sex book. It's just telling us about all these people and how they screwed. And it's pretty filthy. This is some filthy literature that we're reading through today. I think I'm going to use like the correct terminology here. When Mahalalel had lived 65 years, he banged and had of Jared. After he became the father of Jared, Mahalalel lived 830 years and banged and had many sons and daughters. Altogether, Mahalalel lived a total of 895 years of banging before he unalived. When Jared had lived 162, he became the father of Enoch after he banged. After he became the father of Enoch, Jared lived 800 years and continued breeding and had sons and daughters. Altogether, Jared lived a total of 962 years and then he unalived. When Enoch...
accurate. If you're trying to think that we're paraphrasing, this is literally what it is. It says this person slept with a bunch of people for this long, created these people, then died. That is the 4-step process of each of these lines in the Bible.
Imagine that being the summary of your life, Jessica. On your tombstone, it says, Jessica lived from this point, banged a whole lot, and then died.
At this point, I feel like that's the only thing people will remember about me.
What a legacy.
We're not even halfway through this human centipede of fuckery.
When Enoch had lived 65 years, he banged and became the father of Methuselah. After he became the father of Methuselah, Enoch walked faithfully with God 300 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Enoch lived a total of 365 years. Enoch walked faithfully with God, and then he was no more because God took him away. What does that mean? So, God took him away. Snatched him away. Do you like being manhandled, Jessica?
This is Lamech, right?
That was the father of Methuselah, and his name was Enoch.
Enoch got snatched away.
Enoch got snatched away.
But why him? No one else did.
I don't know. Because he walked faithfully with God for 300 years. Maybe if you walk faithfully with God for 300 years, you can get snatched away by God too.
But everybody just died. That's it.
Yeah, they just died, but this one specifically got snatched away.
That's what I'm trying to figure. What did he do? Why did he deserve
baby
it?
That went missing? What was its name?
My baby?
The famous baby that got kidnapped? The Limburger baby?
What the fuck?
I don't know. It was from before our time. It's only
famous baby.
When Methuselah had lived 187 years, he became the father of Lamech after he banged. After he became the father of Lamech, Methuselah lived 782 years and had other sons and daughters through breeding. Altogether, Methuselah lived a total of 969 years, and then he died.
Lord!
What could you spend 969 years doing?
I can barely figure out what I'm doing in a week. But 969 years? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What do you look like that worm from SpongeBob that just sits in the wheelchair because you literally can't do anything?
I mean, apparently after 969 years, the only noteworthy thing that Methuselah did was walk with God and breed. I love getting bread. When Lamech had lived 182 years, he had a son after he banged. He named him Noah and said, "He will comfort us in the labor and pain and toil of our hands, caused by the ground the Lord has cursed." After Noah was born, Lamech lived 595 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Lamech lived a total of 777 years, and then he died. That's right, you guessed it. Okay, this is the last verse, and then I think we're going to get into the juicy bits.
Oh my God.
After Noah was 500 years old, he became the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
It sounds like a sandwich that you would order at a deli. Can I get the SHJ, the sham ham and JPEG?
Tasty.
It does sound like it.
All right, that was what was that? That was
So let's just talk about how none of these are daughters. None of the daughters are mentioned. Only
right?
the boys are.
Yeah.
None of the wives are mentioned.
It's setting a bad example for people, children who are growing up in the church and seeing that the women literally are still just not even like a worthy thing to be written down in their history. It's really, really disappointing because honestly, the women were just a household item at
They
this
were
point.
they were just a baby maker.
It's an accessory. They
Yeah.
were. Yeah.
Somebody said Jennifer says that the last three sound like the Three Stooges.
That is funny.
Ham and Jabbit sound like the Three Stooges. So this entire chapter basically is like 3,000 to 5,000 years of fucking with no context other than these people existed. What do I gain from knowing this? Who
And
told
it's dry.
who about this? Who wrote this? Who told
That chapter was dry, honey. No lube at all. Spit on it first before you read me a chapter. God, give me some juicy.
Okay, let's just get into this next one, see if something good happens. This one is called The Wickedness and Judgment of Man. What do you have?
Wickedness in the world. They never line up. It's never the same.
No. But there's like a couple of words that drastically change the context of what you're going to read in the chapter every time that you hear this. Okay, let's see what we got. Now it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth. I like when men multiply on my face.
Oh, yeah. Like bunny rabbits. I see them just going at it.
Give me your babies. To the face of the earth. And daughters were born to them. That the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves of all whom they chose. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not strive with man forever, for he is indeed flesh. Yet his days shall be 120 years. What the fuck?
Okay, so now this completely throws that idea of a mistranslation in numbers out the window. If the God character is saying, "Oh, you used to live almost 1,000 years, but now we're only gonna max it out at like 120." So the whole idea, the excuse that I've been taught that there was just a mistranslation with those numbers is complete and utter bull to anybody who's actually read the whole chapter.
So they're saying that Adam's family was allowed to live for hundreds and hundreds of years. Then God was like, hey, that's a little too long now. I got to cap it at 120. Has anybody lived in history past 120? Can I Google this really quick?
I would love for you to do that. Go ahead and pull that up. I'm going to say they again are talking about who the men were choosing as wives, as partners, as reproducing appendages. And they were not talking about the women's choice in any type of a relationship. Imagine just having the town dummy come on up to you as a woman and be like, oh, you're going to be my bride and I'm going to non-consensually have children with you. And you're just going to be my house item for the rest of your days. And I'm going to completely soil any value that you have during this time.
Yeah.
And you're going to belong to me now. This is not, and God didn't step in and be like, whoa, hey, you know, they're women, they're people too. They're, you know, inherently valuable. They have emotions, they have feelings. God doesn't think to step up and say any of that.
No.
And if he's all good and he's all knowing, you'd think that he would have a problem with this or an issue with it.
There's
But he
just
don't.
such a ridiculous emphasis on men in this. From the very beginning. And I looked it up, and this person must have defied God's plan and snuck through the cracks because they lived 122 years old. This French woman named Jean-Louis Clement, the oldest person in the world ever.
Work. You know, I think just out of spite, I'm gonna live to be 122, just to spite God and prove him wrong.
So
You gonna do it with me?
yeah, I'll try my best. Right now, we're just hoping to get to 35. That's
Baby steps.
baby
Baby
steps. Yeah, so basically he said, I'm capping this off. And Jean-Louis broke through the cap, and I was like, ah, shit. Now I got to change it to 123. No one can go higher than 123.
Well, God changes his mind all the time, just like he's about to do when he's about to wipe all the people off the face of the earth with this
Oh,
flood.
don't, spoiler alert.
Oh! Don't let me spoil
it
the
for
world's
me.
flood.
Okay, let's continue.
All right, you want to read this next one?
Yeah. Where are we at? My spiritual
Follow him wherever he may go.
Okay, 120 years. There were giants on the earth in those days, and also afterwards, when the sons of God came in to the daughters of men, not daughters of God, daughters of men, the sons of God and the daughters of men, but not the sons and daughters of God. Anyway, came into the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. Then the Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intent of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And the Lord was sorry that he made man on earth, and he was grieved in his heart. So the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, creeping thing and birds of air, and I'm so sorry that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. Okay, so God found Noah and is confiding in Noah and said, hey, dude, I fucked up. I'm making all these evil people. All these people have no idea, like they cannot be valued, they cannot be trusted. So I'm sorry, but it's time to kill them all off. But you, there's something about you I like. So I'm keeping you around, Noah.
And we'll see that Noah is also a drunk who sleeps with I mean, he's not got a lot of options, but he ends up sleeping with his daughters, so it's the incest. So I don't know. Seems a little interesting.
So God said, hey, I'm allowed to make mistakes too. And instead of like snapping his fingers and uncreating man and beast, he decides to take a different direction and put a lot of work on a motherfucker.
He should have just Thanos those bitches. It would have been less cruel than drowning them. Also, he wouldn't have had to drown all the innocent animals, and maybe he could have spared some of the unborn babies, because you know how much the religious folks love the unborn babies. But no, God drowned all of them too. You can't say that in all of the world there was not a single unborn baby when God did this world flood. So we're just seeing some inherencies here with this all perfect, all knowing, all wise, all forgiving book of love and God character.
We have a comment that I think that we should address really quick.
Sure.
How are we looking to be accepted, but we are mocking other groups? The LGBTQ isn't any better, I guess. I think that you need to understand that we're taking these verbatim for the words. Is this a mocking thing? We're blatantly calling out the inaccuracies and the confusion of what the Bible is putting out into each of these passages. As somebody who is constantly belittled to read the Bible and every protester say, read the Bible, you need to know about the Lord, you need to know about the stories. If this is what I'm reading, we're not mocking it, we're reading it verbatim. Is there a little mocking? Maybe.
Well, but sometimes when things are put on a pedestal, it is very healthy and it needs to be addressed that it is not something that is above questioning and above skepticism. And so you kind of do need to knock it down a little bit. Like, if you glorify your political leader, right, like people do with Trump, then you're not going to have any room for criticism because there are so many. That's a cult. if you can't question it and you can't point out the ridiculousness of your leader or your doctrine, it's a cult.
Yes.
So we're here doing that. And I think that it is so funny that when religious folks like to claim victim here, they start this. They always come to us, to the queer community, and they say, oh, you know, just by the way, because of my magic book, I don't want you to have health care. I don't want you to have a family. I don't want you to be able to adopt. I don't want you to get married. I don't want you to have any of this because of my magic book. And then when we take that magic book and we go, oh, well, actually, I think that this book has some problems in it, they turn around and say, ah, you're attacking me. Why are you attacking me? When they were the ones who whipped out the magic book first and came up to us and started taking away all of our rights. And then when we respond to that with some critique, they're like, I'm a victim. Oh, dear God, the LGBTQ alphabet mafia are coming for me.
They're coming for me.
Look at them bullying me.
Well, people are like, well, you're supposed to feel the Spirit of God, and it'll be known to you that his stories may not be all accurate, but then you want to pinpoint the ones that are accurate enough to use against those groups of people. Like this is most specific, so I can tell you that you're wrong because God created man and woman. But let's not talk about the fact that somebody lived 937 years.
Yep, cherry picking. And we're here not reading just the cherry picked verses, but reading the whole thing. We're going through the whole Bible from the beginning to the end. And here we are reading even the ridiculous parts and the parts that don't make sense. And just us doing that, people feel victimized because they're like, oh, you're making fun of our silly book. And it's like, it's not our fault that it's silly if we're reading it word for word and you think that that's bullying. Yeah. Anyway,
we're reading it verbatim and interpreting it based off of the way that we're reading it.
That's right. You don't have to tolerate people's intolerance. And that's what we're doing right here. We're calling out the bullshit for exactly what it is.
And you don't have to agree with us. And there have been things that we have agreed, like we could see like how that made sense. And we've given even some of this very few in the beginning, not necessarily like the benefit of the doubt, but like a realistic understanding. But a lot of this, like you said, is just the magic book. Like, what am I reading right now?
Absolutely. And there were parts that Jessica specifically said, oh, you know, I kind of like that. That was a nice little sentiment, fun little poem that they wrote there. That makes sense to me. I like that.
It helps you to visualize something, like the intent. But other things just make it make sense.
And again, we grew up in the church, so we were victims of a cult mentality and we were victims of indoctrination. And this is us combating and deconstructing that indoctrination that was forced upon us non-consensually. So we're able to critique that, and that is our human right. So
someone said, y'all are playing with it, but you just might mess around and start believing. Who knows? Maybe at the end of this magic book will be what I preach to everybody.
Maybe, and then this will be a really, really great example for you to utilize for your own cause. So stop complaining about it. If it's a magic book, it just might change our opinions. But the other thing that I want to mention is that when we're doing this on your page, we're doing it on my page. People have to come and show some type of interest to see this. But what is not cute is when preachers actually take to the streets or hold people hostage on a plane, like one of the other videos that I've shared, where they stand up on the plane and start preaching to people who have not consented to a sermon. And I think that is disgusting. I think it's really rude. I've seen people inside the mall that I used to work at preaching at the bottom of elevators. So people who are on the elevator are literally coming down on like a conveyor belt getting yelled at about how gays are going to hell. I feel like this is 100% different. 100% different. Where were we?
Well, I know, like you said, Tiffany, you're coming onto these pages to watch this as much or as little as you'd like to. And all of you are choosing to stay and listen for whatever reasons, whether you think we're beautiful, you agree with what we say, you want to argue with what we say, and it's not going to change. We're going to continue to do this. That's the thing. Okay, so everybody's dying. God made a mistake. The Lord said, I'm sorry, but Noah, you're cool. Everyone else has to die, including the animals.
Yeah. Okay. Even though he could have Thanos'd them. I want to reiterate that. He could have made this so much simpler just to erase a mistake.
And the only reason we're saying it that way is because earlier he did that. He said, I have this dirt. I'm going to snap my fingers, turn this this sand, this ground, this dirt into human. He did that.
And he also took Enoch away. He took Enoch away. That's very Thanos-y. If God can reach down and just bloop a person, then he could easily just bloop all the other people that he didn't.
So this is just like, this is like a, I'm sorry that I fucked up, but now I want everyone to suffer.
Yeah. It's giving more creative writing than what would logically make sense for this resolution.
Yes. Let's talk about consistency. Like, if this is how it started, he can do this. Why isn't he doing it now? And why is he having other people suffer at his own mistake? Because everyone makes mistakes.
And didn't yours on chapter 6, verse 4? Can you read chapter 6, verse 4 in your version again for me real quick?
There were giants on the earth in those days, and also afterwards, when the sons of God came in to the daughters of men, and they bore children to them, they were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown.
So when it says the giants, and those I guess were the Nephilim, or on the earth in those days, is it saying that the giants bred with the daughters of man?
Well, that's what I was calling out earlier. It's very, very much confusing. Again, when we're talking about that, a lot of the female people are not mentioned. That God specifically claims his sons and men, and whatnot, the sons of God, the sons of his sons, but the daughters belong to the men.
Right.
The daughters belong to the men that he created. The daughters belong to them to bear children to them.
So at that point, it would sort of seem like God's not even claiming responsibility for the women or whatever the women do. It seems like God made man, and then Adam kind of made Eve from his rib, and God's like, those are not mine. That's what it seems like to me, just reading it word for word. And then it's sort of reinforced here by this verse where it says, and then God's men, and then men's women. That it just seems like God's removing himself from women here. But
a lot of you are focusing on this idea of like the giants and the men, and a lot of people are arguing that the men are physically bigger than women and metaphorically bigger than women. Make that like,
yeah, maybe, but again,
that's not applicable to what we're talking about.
It's possible.
We're talking about the lack of ownership towards female roles in the Bible, and the lack of acknowledgement that they belong to God and that they just belong to man.
Yeah. Verse 9. Mine says Noah and the flood.
Oh, see, I like mine because it says Noah pleases God.
Oh,
Noah pleases God.
Sounds fun. This is the account of Noah and his family. Noah was a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time, and he walked faithfully with God. Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now, the earth was corrupt in God's sight and was full of violence, unlike it is today. God saw how corrupt the earth had become, for all the people on the earth had corrupted their ways, unlike during the Holocaust, when it wasn't apparently a problem for God. So God said to Noah, I am going to put an end to all people, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. I am surely going to destroy both them and the earth. So make yourself an ark of cypress wood. Make rooms in it and coat it with pitch inside and out. This is how you are to build it. The ark is to be 300 cubits long, just like you. You got 300 cubits under that skirt, don't you?
How would Noah know that as a measurement in this time?
I don't know how the biblical scholars figured it out, or how effective their figuring was, but they have figured that a cubit, I believe, is the length of a forearm, about this long.
Only 30? 50?
No, a single cubit. A single cubit is this long.
That's what I'm saying. So 50 cubits, 54 arms, and 34 arms? That doesn't seem big enough.
Well, that's just what I've heard. I'm not a
Well,
biblical scholar.
regardless, Noah is confiding in or God is confiding in Noah and say, "Hey, you're really cool, but I need you to do this thing because I'm about to wipe everybody off. There's too much violence."
Yeah.
But
Isn't it funny how God can build a whole universe, but he cannot make a wooden box?
I want to know why, since then, there has not been any other level of violence big enough for this to reoccur.
Right? That's what I was saying with
Like,
like
of all
nowadays
the
there's a lot
moments
of crazy
all
violence.
moments in history that are some of the most violence in history,
Mhm.
there's no context as to what he considers the world being violent.
Not at all. He didn't even give a good example. He didn't say like uh genocides or concentration camps. He just said, people are pretty shitty and I think I'm just going to drown them all.
This is after he admitted he made a mistake.
Yeah, and he is supposed to be our heavenly father, right? Can you imagine your father being like, you know what, you've been really shitty, and instead of being a good parent and like trying to parent you at all, just gonna drown you. Just gonna drown you. Why didn't he send Jesus down to help forgive their sins this time?
No, it didn't matter then.
This is just critically thinking. We're not bullying. We're
No.
critically evaluating this storyline and this plot.
Okay, so this next one, let's keep reading. Okay. You shall make a window for the ark, and you shall finish it to a cubit from above, and set the door of the ark on in its side. You shall make it with lower, second, and third decks, a 3-deck boat. And behold, I myself am bringing the flood of waters of the earth to destroy from under heaven all flesh in which in the breath of life, and everything that is on the earth shall die. But
Mm.
but hold on, I will establish my convenient covenant with you, and you shall go into the ark. So he's basically saying, I'm going to do you a solid since you listened to me. And because you're building this ark, you shall go into the ark, you, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you. So he's including all of Noah's family. And of every living thing of all flesh, you shall bring 2 of every sort into the ark to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female.
Yeah, that's going to cause a really big genetic bottleneck there. There's going to be just such a very small genetic diversity
This
with
is
just two.
that's how it started though. I mean, Adam and Eve had to procreate, and we don't even know how. They just went to other towns and found other people. So is God going to wipe out everybody? And then is Noah's family going to have to create everybody again? Because they're the
Yes.
only living flesh, or is God going to do that thing where he's like, oh, you know what? I'm going to add some people here and add some people here once the water subsides, because he did it earlier. That's the only thing that we could logically say, is that when what's his face went to the other town and had a family, that there were other people there, because he left his other one at, he left what's her face, his wife, Eve. He left Eve.
I want to know how, when the water subsided, how the kangaroos swam from the Middle East to Australia. Both of them, because they both got to survive.
Noah was on like a collection. Noah was the original Ash Ketchum.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Gotta get them all.
Just one female, one male. He had got it in this thing is Professor Oak, okay, and he sent Noah to go get 2 of each of them, travel all over the world. But he didn't tell God, or God didn't say how much time he has, does he?
I wish God hadn't edited out the part about the Pokeballs. I might have been able to buy into all this if he had left in the Pokeballs.
Let's see.
Oh, and I Googled it. A cubit is around either 17 to 20 inches. So, yeah, about this.
That's not that big. 30 of those?
Yeah, it's not a lot.
God,
Let me
I'm
really
just
say
some
30 cubits
animals.
long.
Big ass animals you're gonna have to maintain. Of the birds after their kind, of animals after their kind, and of every creeping thing on earth after its kind. 2 of every kind will come to you to keep them alive. Drink of every kind. Every time you hear of every kind, drink. God damn.
It's a drinking game.
And then you shall take yourself of all food that is eaten, and you shall gather it yourself to yourself, and it shall be food for you and for them. Thus Noah did according to all God commanded him. So he did. How much time does he have to do all this? Collect food for 2 of every animal, your family and yourself. Go collect the animals. Okay, everything that's not going to be okay underwater, pretty much. And how are you going to build this thing obviously with the help of your family, but how are you and your family going to build this thing? And how much time do you have? A
I hope
week?
he didn't have to do it during tax season,
Oh
because
my
that
god.
already is gonna just eat up a lot of his free time. He's got to know a good accountant, that Noah, and they only live to be 120 something now, right?
Well,
So
and somebody in the comments said, I believe it took him 125 years to build. But was that before or after God cut off how long? And also, why? God was like, I'm going to send a flood, but when you're ready, only when you're ready.
I guess so. And then he's gonna have to procreate after all of this. So even if he did live to be 125 and their lifespan ends at 126 or some shit, then he's gonna be at the end of his life just having to bang the woodstock off of his daughters to repopulate the earth. It's kind of gross. It's giving The Hills Have Eyes.
It really is. This next one is pretty long, and I think it's a kind of a cliffhanger until next week's chapter of what's about to come. Um, we've broken down a lot of the confusion, so we know that the flood is coming. We just know the story of Noah.
Yeah, that's pretty much what this is all led up to. We're just at the cusp of the flood, the great
Ooh, didn't mean to
flood.
keep you all on a no. Let's see what kind of comments we have.
Let's review the comments. In closing,
Someone said the Lord is just joshing everybody. The Lord God is Arceus, the Pokemon.
oh right, right. I think that's like the god Pokemon.
Someone said that I'm using a tissue because the spirit's making me emotional.
No, you should see her at any other given time of the day.
Somebody
Some
said,
allergies.
women do have equal significance to men with God. We're saying that in the first 5 pages, we have not seen that God has the same care for what he created as women that he does for men. And the people, whoever transferred the knowledge of this experience, this story, to whoever wrote Genesis in the Bible, obviously didn't get that translation either to give any credit or knowledge of the women. If God is treating them equal, God didn't tell whoever about this that way.
That's a good point. It's very fair to say.
So we're just saying maybe later on in the Bible he'll be like, "Hey, women are kind of cool. Let's talk about
Yeah.
them." But
I
right now,
feel my personal belief is that I feel that Christians actually have a better moral compass than their God character. I feel like most people have a better moral compass than this God character. I think that anybody in their right mind, if they had any shred of empathy, compassion, or mercy, wouldn't treat people the way that this God character has already been doing in just the few chapters that we've read.
it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Um, Someone said women were equal in the Garden of Eden. Maybe at the very first chapter, and then what happened after?
Were they equal in the garden? I mean, it specifically says that Eve is to be submissive to her husband. So
Yes,
I wouldn't consider that equal.
that's true. Someone said that as we continue to read, they hope that we understand and we get it.
I want to reinforce the fact that I grew up in the church. I spent multiple, I would say probably 3 to 4 days every single week until the day I was like 17 in church. Not just Sunday. I didn't go to church every Sunday. I went to church every Sunday, Monday, sometimes Tuesdays, sometimes Wednesdays. So this is not something new to me. It's something that I've had shoved down my throat since birth. Literally, before I could tie my shoes, I was learning the books of the Bible. So I do not feel that I'm going to come across one verse in this book that's going to magically undo all of the trauma that this book has already caused.
And I didn't actually have to learn Bible verses in the same context as you, but all I know is growing up as a Catholic, anything that you questioned, whether you read it or it was read to you, or you were just simply told that this is what it is. And if it didn't make sense, then you were bad and you weren't having enough faith. You weren't believing hard enough. You were, instead of questioning, it's kind of like if you believe it, you can see it. And they're like, that's not how it works. You have to understand that it just exists.
Yeah.
And that's not how I thought. And as a kid, they just said, that's it. That's all you need to know is believe what you hear and act how you're told.
Yep. Pretty much. And that's exactly how cult leaders want you to associate with them. They want you to blindly believe every word that they say. And even if it doesn't make sense, just believe it anyway. Find a way to believe it. And so I think that it's a dangerous way to live. And theocracies have always been incredibly dangerous for society. So
cherry picking. You can't pick and choose. If you're going to pick certain things, if you're somebody that wants to generalize the Bible, generalize the whole thing. If you're going to pick out phrases to use them as like verbal violent attacks on others and judgmental tactics, then you're doing it wrong because you're not willing to take the criticism from the other things we're pointing out in the Bible.
And that was something that I was taught as a child from a very early age, is that the Bible specifically says you are to believe the entire thing or nothing at all. It says that every single, and I can't remember the exact scripture, but every single jot and tittle of this book is 100% true, and you have to believe all of it. And so for me, when things, little bits and pieces here and there started to not make sense or seem really, really cruel, I was like, well, then I guess I just don't. And there are some Christians that can have that sort of level of cognitive dissonance surrounding that, and it's just not me. I was taught that you got to believe the whole thing or nothing at all, and so I just had to toss the whole thing out. It's the way it went for me.
Yeah.
But
it looks like we've run out of time for today's Bible Sludy.
That's right. We got through a whole lot of names and a whole lot of numbers. We learned what a cubit was.
We got you on, and who the oldest person recorded in history was?
Methuselah.
No, Jean-Louis.
Jean-Louis. Right. Well, Methuselah lived to 900.
After the new requirements. After God set new requirements for life. Yeah, we're going to find out on this cliffhanger what happens next week. Again, friends, join us for Bible Study. My name's Jessica Whor. This is Tiffany Vogue. We hope that we haunt your nightmares. We'll be back next week at 5 o'clock Mountain, 4 o'clock Standard, yes.
Yes. Are we doing the 5:30 thing next week, or is that
5 o'clock next week?
5 o'clock? Okay, so 5 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Get into it. We'll see you there. See you next Wednesday. Woo!
We're still on. Don't quit.